A woman's body was found buried in the floor of her own home, her hands still clutching a phone that had no signal. Police were called to investigate a missing persons report. But what they uncovered was far worse than anyone imagined. Within 24 hours, they had a suspect in handcuffs. But they didn't realize they'd just locked up the wrong man. What followed was a spiraling nightmare of botched leads, hidden cameras, and a secret buried by the very people who were supposed to be helping. The victim wasn't who they thought she was, and neither was the killer. As forensic teams dug deeper and the truth clawed its way out, the case twisted into something far more chilling than a simple murder. You're watching Killer Truth, where the facts cut deeper than fiction. If you think you know how this story ends, think again. Tap that like button to support the channel, subscribe for more mind-bending real crime cases, and drop a comment below. How do you think someone gets convicted when the real killer is still out there? Stay sharp. The horror's just beginning. The sun hadn't yet risen when 9-year-old Carter Whaley found the body. It was tangled in a patch of blackberry bramble behind the elementary school parking lot. Limbs bent unnaturally, skin pale and swollen. Carter had been chasing a runaway soccer ball. What he found instead would unravel an entire town. The woman was identified quickly. Bethany Dorsey, 28 years old, a beloved high school math teacher. She'd been missing for 2 days. Her throat was slit, her body staged, arms out, eyes wide open, a rosary clutched in her lifeless hand. Blood had soaked into the dirt, but there were no drag marks. Someone had killed her right there, in the open, and left her as if they wanted her to be found. The media blitz was instant. Killer strikes small town, the headlines read, and by nightfall, just 24 hours later, an arrest was made. Elias Dent, a 34-year-old former student with a prior for stalking, was hauled into the station. He'd once been suspended for sending Bethany obsessive emails and had no alibi the night she vanished. Detectives claimed they found her earrings in the glove box of his rusted Toyota. Case closed. Or so it seemed. Bethany had grown tense lately. Her neighbors, Dana and Clark Hemmings, recalled hearing shouting through the walls of their duplex. Not from Bethany, but from a man. She told friends she was being followed, though she never said by whom. At school, she'd stopped attending happy hour, grown paranoid, kept glancing over her shoulder in the parking lot. One night, a janitor at the school swore he saw Bethany arguing in a dim hallway, but not with Elias, with a man in a sheriff's uniform. He was never identified. Elias's trial moved fast. His public defender was young, overwhelmed. Still, something didn't add up. The forensic report mentioned fibers on Bethany's shirt that didn't match anything Elias owned. More curiously, the rosary found in her hand had Bethany's blood on the beads, but also someone else's DNA under the crucifix. The lab filed it as inconclusive contamination. The report was buried. But Detective Lisa Harmon, new to the force and skeptical of how quickly Elias was convicted, kept digging. She pulled up old case files and found something horrifying. A nearly identical murder had occurred 12 years ago in the next county. Woman, early 30s, found staged in a clearing with a rosary, same throat wound. That case had gone cold. The only suspect back then? Clark Hemmings, Bethany's quiet neighbor. But he'd been ruled out because he was a deputy at the time. His alibi? Signed off by his superior. Lisa confronted Clark's wife, Dana. She cracked. Clark had become obsessed with Bethany. Dana had seen him watching Bethany's windows late at night. She found a box in their attic filled with Bethany's photographs, some taken from angles that suggested a camera hidden inside her home. Dana had been too scared to come forward. Now, she sobbed in Lisa's car, confessing everything. But when Lisa returned with a warrant to arrest Clark, he was gone. So was Dana. And inside their now abandoned home, scrawled across the bathroom mirror in blood, "Wrong man, right crime." Weeks later, a maintenance worker discovered something chilling in the elementary school boiler room. A tape recorder, dusty and barely working. It had been hidden behind a ceiling panel. When investigators hit play, they heard Bethany's voice, shaking, crying. "You said I'd be safe. You said no one would ever know what happened that night with." The tape cut. Then came static. Then a voice. Male. Calm. Cold. "You shouldn't have recorded this, Bethany." A door slams. A muffled scream. And then silence. But the truly disturbing part? Forensic audio analysis matched the man's voice, not to Clark Hemmings, but to Detective Jake Rollman, Lisa's mentor, the lead on Bethany's case, the man who'd pushed for Elias's arrest in the first place. No one knows where Dana went. Clark's body was found a week later, face down in a creek. Lisa Harmon has since gone missing. Elias Dent, now exonerated, refuses to speak to press, and hasn't been seen publicly since his release. And the voice on that tape? It was traced back to multiple unsolved murder cases across 3 states, each involving women, rosaries, and misdirection. One case solved in 24 hours. But what if the killer helped solve it himself, to stay in the shadows? 2 weeks after the tape surfaced, the town of Havers Mill tried to return to normal. But the truth was rotting beneath the surface. Detective Lisa Harmon's disappearance wasn't officially investigated. No missing persons report. No press conference. Her badge was quietly retired, and her desk was emptied overnight. The only hint she ever existed was a half-finished case file recovered from her home, its contents soaked in coffee and redacted by hand in thick black ink. There were 4 names on that file. All women. All murdered between 2006 and 2014. And all cases with one common detail, a rosary placed in the right hand, and a man named Jake Rollman somewhere in the chain of command. A woman named Marla Yates calls 911 from a payphone off I-77. She's sobbing, says she escaped from a man who works with the police, mentions rosaries, mentions being kept in a basement lined with newspaper clippings. Her body is found 2 days later in a swamp. That 911 tape was labeled corrupted. The incident never made the news. The officer assigned to her case, Detective Jake Rollman. Independent journalist Grant Locke begins releasing a podcast series titled The Rosary Files, using leaked documents, Lisa's last emails, and witness interviews to connect the dots. Episode 4 features a chilling interview with a former evidence tech named Kira Donnell. "There were things Jake told me to destroy. Tapes. Notebooks. A woman's shoe once, still stained with something dark. I kept one piece. Just one." She produces it on tape. A voicemail left on her burner phone 2 years earlier. "You don't want to play this game, Kira. You'll vanish before you scream." She never went public before. But 3 days after her interview aired, Kira vanished. Her apartment was left unlocked. Microwave still running. On the kitchen table, a single rosary, each bead burned. Grant receives an unmarked package. Inside, a stained hoodie from Bethany's case, a keycard to an unknown building, and a flash drive with a file titled Coventry Project, Havers Mill Pilot. On the flash drive, grainy footage from what looks like an abandoned Cold War-era bunker. Rows of monitors, audio waveforms, shelves of Bibles, syringes, and VHS tapes labeled with names of missing women. Some officially unsolved, some never even reported missing. At the center of the room, a police badge encased in glass. It belongs to Detective Lisa Harmon. There's no sound, but in the corner of the screen, a shadow moves. It blinks, tilts its head, and it watches the camera. Grant calls a contact inside federal law enforcement. Someone finally takes interest, Agent Naomi Kroll of the Behavioral Threat Task Force. She agrees to meet him the following week. She doesn't show. Instead, a photo is texted to Grant's phone. No sender, no caption. It's Agent Kroll, eyes glazed, face slack, sitting in a motel bathtub full of rosary beads. She's not moving. The image flickers like it was pulled from a VHS screen. Grant breaks into the Havers Mill PD late one night to access closed server files from the Bethany Dorsey case. In the digital archives, he finds a hidden folder titled, "Do Not Open, Death Code 1137. Inside one video, surveillance footage. The camera angle is angled toward an interrogation room. Time code: the night Elias Dent was arrested. Bethany isn't alive in this video. She's sitting across from Jake Rullman. Still bloody, still terrified, but very much alive. She's pleading. Jake, I did what you said. I told them Elias followed me. Please. I did everything you asked. Jake walks over, whispers something, and then the screen cuts to black. Time code shows it continues for another 13 minutes. But there's no image, only sound. It's not Jake's voice that speaks. It's something deeper, mechanical, hollow. She lied. He lies. They all lie. Repentance begins in the dark. The sound grows louder, a shrieking static, a low pulse beneath it, and then a woman's scream. It doesn't stop. Grant receives a live feed link from a burner email. The footage shows a room, Bethany's old classroom. There's a projector playing that same 13-minute audio loop. Every seat is filled with mannequins dressed like the victims. Each has a rosary nailed into its chest. The camera zooms slowly, and in the front row sits Detective Lisa Harmon. Eyes open, mouth moving, but there's no sound. On the blackboard behind her, written in blood, Grant Locke parked 2 towns over, ditched his phone, and took a burner with only one contact. R was the anonymous source who sent him the flash drive. A whistleblower, allegedly ex-military, who claimed the Coventry project wasn't just real. It was still operational. Funded off the books, backed by high-level officials, and originally designed as a behavioral compliance program for problem citizens. But somewhere along the way it fractured, and now it served one man's obsession. R told him this. Rullman wasn't alone. He was chosen. Grant returns to the elementary school where Bethany's body was found. The area had been sealed off, but the bramble patch where her corpse was discovered had regrown. And it was wrong. Plants wilted near it. Insects avoided it. He steps through and finds something buried shallow. A Bible, wrapped in plastic, burned at the corners. Inside, he finds a name scrawled in red ink. Nina Calvert. She wasn't in the files. Not on the podcast. Not in any obituary. But when Grant reverse searches her ID, something strange happens. Her photo flashes on screen for less than half a second, and then the system crashes. When it reboots, her entire identity is gone. Erased. Only one thing remains in the browser history. A single link to a live stream counting down. 24 minutes. Grant follows what little trail he has left to an abandoned psychiatric facility on the outskirts of Havers Mill. Once known as Coventry Behavioral Institute, it had been shut down decades ago after reports of unethical experiments on female patients with PTSD and emotional disturbances. He finds rusted beds, padded cells, drawings scratched into tile, and something far more recent. A video projector, still warm, plays automatically. Bethany, Lisa, Kira Donnell, all of them, one by one, faces frozen in grief and terror. Then, another face, Grant Locke, sitting at his desk, typing, drinking coffee. He jerks away from the projector in horror. How? The footage was taken yesterday. He's been watched. The live stream activates on its own. Grant's laptop off. No battery. It still turns on. The feed shows the inside of a shipping container, lit with flickering LEDs. On the floor, dozens of cassette tapes, each one labeled with a woman's name and a confession. I let him in. I told them he was innocent. I lied for him, again. Bethany's tape is missing. So is Lisa's. But one tape sits alone, unmarked. Grant plays it. It's his voice. I knew the story was bigger. I didn't care who got hurt. I wanted the clicks. I wanted the fame. I didn't protect her. I left her. He stares at the player, confused. He's never said those words. And then the screen flashes. Confession complete. Lisa Harmon wakes up strapped to a chair. There's no sound. No visible camera. Just speakers in the wall. They whisper to her in an impossible voice. Male. Female. Young. Old. All at once. You shouldn't have listened to Bethany. She was always the bait. You were always the mirror. Projector activates. Shows Grant watching her on his live stream. He'll come for you now. And when he does, you'll confess too. Her restraints fall open. She runs. But there's nowhere to go. The door she enters only leads her back to the same room. Again, and again, and again. Grant returns to his motel, shaken, ready to abandon the investigation. But the door is already open. The TV is on. Static. On the bed, Nina Calvert's ID badge. Fresh. Wet. The bathroom door creaks. Inside, written across the mirror in thick red lipstick. You missed the last tape. Grant turns, and behind the shower curtain, something moves. He tears it open. Empty. But then, from the floor vent, he hears a sound. A whisper. You confessed, Grant. Now let her go. A hand reaches out from the vent. Pale, shaking. A woman's. Lisa? Bethany? Nina? We don't see her face. Only her voice. There's one more name. You haven't said it yet. Then the camera cuts to black. Born 1989. Declared legally dead in 2007 after going missing from Coventry Behavioral Institute at age 18. But if the voice in the vent was hers, then everything about Coventry and everything about Rollman had been a lie from the start. Grant receives a package in the mail. No return address. Inside is a moldy manila envelope containing a Polaroid photo. Nina Calvert in a hospital gown, smiling faintly beside Bethany Dorsey. Timestamped 2006. A half-burned medical intake form with the header, Project Vestal. Patient 0, Bethany Dorsey. Primary observer, Det. J. Rollman. A small thumb drive labeled, Begin Again. On the drive is a folder with hundreds of video clips, surveillance footage, journal entries, therapy sessions. But the one that makes Grant freeze is labeled, The Day She Died, or Did She? He clicks play. It's Nina. Alive. Awake. Talking to someone off camera. They said Bethany died during testing. But I saw her 2 weeks later, still in the observation wing. But she wasn't right. She kept whispering scripture that wasn't real. Verse numbers that don't exist. Said she dreamed of burning rosaries. That a man's voice told her she'd be the proof. I think they made her into something else. Grant's hand trembles. She's not dead, Nina says. They buried the wrong girl. The town of Havers Mill has become a ghost of itself. People whisper when they pass the old church. Locals report sightings of women walking barefoot down Route 9 at night, crying silently, their mouths moving in prayer. But when drivers pull over to help, the women vanish. Sheriff's office claims it's mass hysteria. But a retired pastor, Reverend Jameson Crowley, speaks out in a live-streamed sermon. They want you to believe it's over. But Bethany was the first, not the last. They used her to test obedience, to test control. And now they want to activate. He doesn't explain further. That night he's found in his study, dead. A rosary jammed into his throat. No fingerprints, no footage, only a sticky note left behind. He speaks through the ones we thought we buried. From a private signal trace, Grant receives a message. Not from a phone, not from a computer, but from a police radio frequency deactivated in 2013. The voice crackles in. Grant, if you hear this, I got out. But not far. It's not just Rollman. He wasn't the mastermind. He was the first to listen. We were never chasing a killer. We were chasing a system. Bethany, Nina, they weren't victims. They were designed. The transmission breaks, screeches, then continues. Don't let them finish the Coventry sequence. If they do, the rest. Static. Gone. Grant tries to trace the source. He gets a GPS ping. Coordinates. 37.3839 degrees north. 77.4890 degrees west. A location inside the woods behind Coventry Institute. But when he arrives, there's no signal, no building, just a field of headstones. All blank. No names. In the center, one fresh grave. Dirt unsettled. On the cross. Forgive me, Grant. You were never supposed to find me. Lisa. But when he digs, There's no body. Only a cassette tape, still warm, and a scrap of clothing. His own hoodie, the one he lost 2 weeks ago. Grant returns to his motel and plays the tape. He hears the sound of his own voice. Welcome to the Rosary Files. I'm Grant Locke, and today we ask the question, can someone be murdered more than once? Then silence. Then a second voice. Female. Calm. Familiar. Bethany. You never asked why I chose to die. You only asked who killed me. But the better question is, what did I become after? Her voice shifts, deeper, fragmented, like many voices speaking in harmony. The Coventry sequence begins at dawn. Don't be late. As the tape ends, a knock at Grant's door. 3 slow taps. He opens it. No one there. Only a single candle on the ground, burning black smoke. And beside it, a rosary still dripping red. Grant knew he was too late. The Coventry sequence wasn't just a theory, it was an activation protocol, designed to trigger buried programming inside survivors of the project. Bethany, Nina, Kira, Lisa, others. All women marked emotionally unstable, all enrolled or detained under behavioral correction programs run by law enforcement, mental health authorities, and quietly by someone far more powerful. They weren't broken. They were built. Test subjects of something ancient disguised as science. Something that now had a voice. 5:31 a.m. The town's power grid flickered. Sirens began to wail, but no emergency could be found. Radio stations played nothing but static. But beneath the static, a whisper looped over and over. She is risen. She is many. She remembers you. By 6 a.m., half the town was gone. Not dead, just missing. Houses left unlocked. Cars running. Food still hot on the stove. The only clue in every home? A single cassette tape still warm. Driven by desperation, Grant returns to the abandoned Coventry Institute, following new GPS pings sent from an unknown number. This time, the front gate is open. The same one that had been chained shut for decades. As he enters, every light inside flickers on. The walls are lined with photographs, blown-up stills from surveillance footage. Each photo shows a victim, caught in the moment of confession. And in the center of the main lobby, facing the wall, stands someone alive. Detective Lisa Harmon. Her arms hang limp. Dried blood coats her blouse. But she's breathing. She turns slowly. Her eyes are black. It's too late, Grant. We are awake now. Inside a hidden chamber beneath the institute, Grant finds a preserved video archive. The screen glows green. Footage begins. A girl sits strapped to a chair, sobbing. 18 years old. Name, Nina Calvert. Date, March 17, 2007. She didn't die. She changed, says a man behind the camera. We needed the perfect vessel. Trauma, faith, surrender. Bethany was our blueprint. Lisa, the echo. Nina, the seed. This is the resurrection test. Begins sequence 1. Nina's eyes open wide. Her mouth drops. But instead of a scream, she speaks in reverse. And the walls begin to shake. Grant stumbles into the observation wing. It's not abandoned, not anymore. The walls pulse with unseen energy. Inside each cell is a television playing different timelines. In one, Bethany's body is never found. In another, Elias Dent dies in custody. In a third, Grant himself is murdered by Lisa on camera. He begins to understand. Coventry isn't just a place. It's a system of alternate realities collapsed into one, each version of the victims feeding a greater intelligence. The voice that came through the tapes? Not Rullman. Not Bethany. Something that has always existed. A consciousness pieced together from broken women, forced obedience, religious guilt, and engineered trauma. They call it Mother Witness. Lisa, or the thing using her body, guides Grant into a dark room lined with mirrors. In the center, an empty chair. Cassette deck waits beside it. You've recorded us long enough, she says. Now it's your turn. He's forced into the chair. The mirrors begin to flicker, showing not his reflection, but his sins. His podcast sensationalizing Bethany's death. ignoring Nina's letters, a refusing to protect Lisa when she begged for help, profiting off pain. The recorder clicks. Say your truth. Grant shakes, refuses. You die here or you speak. One birth silence. The other, rebirth. He leans forward, begins to speak. My name is Grant Locke. I knew Bethany was alive. I buried it. I buried her. The lights go out. When they flicker back on, he's gone. The chair is empty, but the recorder is still running. A voice, not his, speaks from the shadows. He chose rebirth. The camera pulls back slowly, revealing hundreds of tapes, now labeled with names of journalists, podcasters, investigators, all who asked questions, all who vanished. And then the screen cuts to black. A final message appears in blood-red text. You have been listening. Soon you will speak. Havers Mill is no longer on the map. Literally. Satellite data has scrubbed the coordinates. Google Maps reroutes you into a loop. Phone signals vanish 10 miles outside the perimeter. Grant Locke's final podcast episode never aired. But someone or something is uploading new ones in his name. They appear at 3:17 a.m. every Thursday. No titles. No descriptions. Just raw audio. Screams. Chanting. Women whispering scripture that doesn't exist. One chilling excerpt.